first step in our solidarity to work with the Rohingya people. Secondly, like Zani, I would like to apologize to the Rohingya people. I'm not a Bama, I'm not a Buddhist. I belong to the Shan minority, and I'm a Christian. But my father and Aung San Suu Kyi's father tried to create a new nation. They agreed in 1947 to form a nation that is multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious, but they failed. Aung San himself was assassinated, and some years, 10 or so years later, my father also was arrested and died in prison. So I apologize that my father's efforts didn't work out. Secondly, I'd like to apologize personally because I have been engaged with the Rohingya people since 2000. My hope was to prevent something like what happened, the genocide. But again, I failed. And I had thought that with the transition government in 2010 and the peace talks with the different ethnic nationalities, we could somehow prevent the use of violence and somehow eventually bring in the Rohingya people into the peace process. But that did not work out. Last June, my visa to Myanmar was denied. So I have not been able to go back. But what I want to say is that we've been asking questions, what can we do? I think the first thing we have to do, like Zani pointed out just now to David Sheffer, we have to name what is happening as genocide. It is not ethnic cleansing. It is definitely genocide. And we need to get all the governments to recognize this. We have to work towards that. Why? If you listen to the leaders of Myanmar today talking about what happened to the Rohingya, about what their intent is, it is very clear. They don't want them. They want them out of the country. Whether it is military officials, party officials, government officials, they all say they don't belong here. And they also, some of them also say, don't bring them back. So from all those, this is not made up. It is in public. They are saying these things. So it's very clear. The intention was to get rid of them. And so definitely it is a genocide. On top of that, the evidence that we have today is overwhelming. It's also very timely, and it's very substantive. You can actually see what's happening. This evidence is much more than what we had when we were trying to change the regime, the military regime in Burma. At that time, the evidence we presented was accepted by the international community that what was happening in Myanmar was a massive repression of the people, and that the military government needed to be sanctioned. When we have so much more evidence, why is nothing happening? That is a very, it's a question, why? Because definitely everybody can see what's happening. The military and the government are continuing to deny what happened. They're saying no atrocities were committed. The soldiers acted according to rules. There was nothing wrong. It's just not acceptable. So, what can we do about this? Well, I would like to say that when we started the democracy movement in Burma in 1988, I mean, we started before, but the massive movement started in 88, there was no hope of changing the regime. There was no hope of democracy in Burma, but we succeeded. The military stepped back, and Aung San Suu Kyi was placed in power. We were hoping that she would be the person to really democratize Burma. But what I'm trying to say is that the international community, the Burmese people, everybody worked together. Today we can work together. The Rohingya, the non-Rohingyas from Burma, the international community, we can succeed. I'm very certain about that. So, like I said, today is a very good start, and from today onwards, we really need to work on this issue. And the first thing is protection. Protection for the Rohingyas in Myanmar and those who are in the refugee camps. So the question is, how do we protect the Rohingyas in Myanmar? The government has said they have stopped the clearance operation, but atrocities are continuing. None of the governments are willing to do anything. Is there anything more that we can do? That is something we should discuss. And I believe there are ways to try to protect the Rohingya people in Myanmar. And secondly, how do we protect the people outside? And as was mentioned, the call for a protected repatriation to a protected homeland is something that really needs to be pushed. Because unless, I don't want to discuss going to a third country, because if you do that, the intention would have been successful. They would have got rid of the Rohingya community. So you should not do that. They should go back. But where do they go back to? That is the question. Who will protect them? How will they be secure? And that is something that we really need to work on. And I think it's crucial that we work on it now. Don't talk about repatriation. What we need is a protection for both the Rohingyas inside and outside the country, and how can they return in safety. It doesn't matter what mechanism or what instruments are used. We really need to consider different options. Taking the perpetrators to court definitely needs to be done, but that is not a short-term solution. It is a lot of work, and it can be done. And I believe it will succeed, but it will take years. So immediate thing is I really think make sure that it is recognized as genocide, and secondly, let's work on how we can protect the Rohingyas both inside and outside the country. And in the long term, starting now, we have not achieved democracy in Burma. If it was a democratic society, we would not have a genocide. So this is proof that we have not succeeded in democratizing the country. So we need to redouble our efforts to democratize Burma. And for those people who say we cannot do anything with Burma because Aung San Suu Kyi is there, and if we do anything, the democratization process, which is fragile, will fail. Well, I'd like to tell you that the longer she stays in power, the longer the military is protected, and the longer you don't have democratization in Burma. We need to democratize Burma. We need to support civil society in Burma and the younger generation. There are people in Myanmar who actually don't agree with what is happening. At the moment, the numbers are small, and some of them are still scared. It was the same as we had to start before the military change. We worked before, and we were able to change the situation. I'm very confident we can do that again. Thank you for this.